Hello, wonderful podcast listeners. This is Cindy. Allison and I revealed really big news on our recent live episode. We now have a website dedicated to this podcast. Go to howpreschoolteachersdoit.com to read stuff we've written, to check out the latest news, see the topics for upcoming episodes, and to contact us. We'd love to hear from you. Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Allison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide. Welcome to our podcast. Anyone who listens to this podcast on any kind of steady basis knows how much Allison and I prize protecting the social emotional development of young children. So let's talk holiday shows. How was that for an introduction, Allison?
Let's talk about holiday shows.
Can we talk about the holiday shows for a second? Oh my goodness.
Can't even. Okay. Yeah. Let's go there because the children
yes.
are being forced to
Many
perform
of them
in
forced,
these
yes.
shows that first off have no meaning to them, and second that they don't want to perform in. So it's like your boss going up to you as an adult and be like, oh, by the way, tomorrow you're going to give a 4-hour presentation in front of 300 people and you're going to be okay with that. And you inside are like, no, let's cut.
Oh my God. I laughed.
That's what you're doing.
I laughed so that I don't cry.
I know. That's what you're doing to the children. Okay. Yeah. How do you think they feel?
Here's my experience as a consultant in many schools. I've been to many schools now. Here's always my experience. Teachers are stressed out about it. Mm-hmm. They blame administration. Administration is stressed out about it. They blame the families.
Yes.
The families are like, oh my gosh, we have to spend how much time at this holiday show? My kid isn't even on stage the whole time. And they're stressed out about it.
It's true. They have to take a day off of work for that.
Right? So they're stressed out. So we've got these many layers of adults stressed out about it. And we've got a whole bunch of kids spending time rehearsing something. And it's not good educational time.
No, it's not. And the amount of educational time it takes up is a lot.
It's extraordinary, families, just so you know. It's extraordinary how much people have to rehearse for this and prepare children and start them singing things way ahead. And I'm not saying, I want to be very clear that I'm not saying don't celebrate holidays. Feel free to celebrate holidays if that's the policies of the school. Go ahead and celebrate holidays, but surely there are other ways to do it that are less stressful all around, especially on the children who are put in a very unnatural situation for most kids.
Right. And you have kids who have anxiety just going to school sometimes, and now it's like, oh, not only do you have to get over your anxiety going to school, but you're going to have to perform in front of all these people that you don't know, you know?
The kids should want to do it, and I would venture a guess that there are some kids who love to perform and be on stage and be the center of attention, but there are many who don't. Yeah. So there's got to be a better way.
Yeah. I mean, when I was a kid, if you wanted to join the chorus, then you joined. It was your want, and you did it.
Yeah, but nobody's choosing that at 2-3 years old.
But now in schools, you have that choir that is the people who have selected to be in the choir. They wanted to be in it. And then you also have more assemblies of like, okay, now every single grade level is going to sing 4 songs. And they have to sing 4 songs for probably 3 or 4 times. It's not just one assembly. It's like this assembly for this set of parents, another assembly for this set of parents. Then you have to perform it for the whole school, and you have to have a dress rehearsal. So by the time they're at the last performance, they're like, dude, I did this 5 times. I don't want to do this anymore. So even the kids who are like, okay, yeah, I'll do it once, fine. No, they're forced to do it like 5-6 times, So
here's my question, right? I have a question for you, because you've done this in the course of your career, as have I. Yeah. Okay. So
not willingly, but yeah.
I know. See, Allison's a teacher, and she's like, no, don't like it. Here's my question, I guess. Who is this about? Why are we doing this? Who's it about?
Well, if you ask people, they like to think it's about the parents, okay? So the parents want to see their child perform and the parents want to see them do this and this and this. But I've talked to parents who are like, I only show up because if I don't show up, I look like a bad mom. And I'm
Aw.
like, oh, that's so bad. But then I'm like, so you really don't care if they perform? And they're like, no, I don't care. That's not who he is, you know? And so then, but then there are some parents who probably really do want their kids to perform, you know? And I think that might be the driving
And
proponent.
so
Like,
who's that about though? Whose
I
ego is
don't
that
know.
about? I
It,
don't think it's about the 18-month-old.
it's not.
Like I
It's,
don't
well,
the
I
young
think,
ages at which children are being put on a stage is unbelievable.
oh, yeah, yeah. No, I know. Yeah, babies. Babies.
Oh,
Um, no.
yeah,
Just,
just we're just going to keep going.
no.
No,
Because
stop
you know
that.
what it is? You know what I think it is? Part of it's like this Facebook social media world. And it's like, okay, my 18-month-old is on a stage. And so let me take a lot of pictures
And
and
put it on
post it.
Instagram.
Yeah, and post it on the Instagram and the Facebook and look how
Yeah.
great this is. And that didn't exist when we were kids. So there was no like, hey, you have to do this. Like it was just now it's like, oh, look what Johnny did. You know what I mean? Johnny performed in a play. If you can call a 6-month-old baby that
Ugh.
performing, then fine. But that gets to be about like you that's you as an adult wanting to show off that your child is in this play instead of it being like, well, wait a minute, how much school time did that take up? How much
How
like is
much
he okay with
educational
this?
time? Isn't that the bottom line? How much educational time is
Yeah,
being taken up by preparing the children to do this? And again, I'm going to tell you folks, it's extraordinary.
it's
You
extraordinary.
wouldn't believe how much educational time, and the schools may deny it because they don't want
Oh,
you to know that, but it's
it's
extraordinary. From
extraordinary.
the time,
You have
when you
no
think
life.
about, like, if the class of 2 and 3 year olds have to perform a certain song, they're singing practically nothing but that song for months in class when they could be learning other
Other
educational
things.
songs and other things. You
Other
know,
things.
they bring them on and they do rehearsals and they bring them to the room and they do all these things, and I just am in agony because
Yeah,
we have so much to teach these young children that I just think it's not a good use of time.
yeah,
And I think that families, especially those who pay tuition to early childhood settings, private early childhood settings, I think about it. I just don't think this is what you're spending your money on.
yeah.
All these endless rehearsals. And it has a lot to do with adult stuff and much, much less to do with what
To do.
is educational for
Yeah.
children. So, again, I'm not saying don't celebrate the holidays. So, let's discuss
Oh,
for a couple of minutes different ways we can still acknowledge whatever it is your school wants to acknowledge. There's plenty of ways other than a show,
other, yeah. Not a show.
other than like a show with songs and props and memorization of all sorts of movements and things. So, what else can people do?
Well,
Families can come in.
families can come in and talk about their holidays, which
They
I think is
certainly
lovely.
can, and they can do
Yeah,
it. Well, the families should be coming in and talking about that, which we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about cultural responsiveness and respect in a separate episode coming up soon.
yeah,
But families can come in. Families can help create a celebration. I
yeah.
think there's a big difference between a celebration and a show.
Well, I feel like when you have families come in and talk about their celebrations, that actually teaches the children something.
And you can have a school-wide celebration. You want to have like some
Yeah,
sort of big party? Go ahead, have some big party. Kids love that, and it doesn't take
yeah,
weeks and months worth of rehearsal.
right, right.
You can just have a party that the staff and families even plan together. Wouldn't that be nice partnering?
That would be really nice.
Right?
Yeah, yeah,
You can, like we said, you can invite people in. You can have a party. You can do all sorts of things, but putting children on the stage is the thing that I
yes,
just kind of grapple with.
yeah. I think we had an episode previously where we talked about the privacy of children, and I feel like this kind of goes a little bit with that.
Did we?
I think we did. We talked about the privacy of social media and like that
I
kind
don't
of
know if
stuff.
we
I don't
talked.
know if
Wait,
it
I'm
was a
looking. I'm
full
looking. We may have
episode.
intended
Yeah.
to talk about it, Wait, hold on.
No,
I'm
I
looking at.
don't think it was a full episode. I think it was just mentioned in one of
Yeah, we
these
should really
previous
do a full
ones.
episode about what's going on with
Yeah,
social media
I
and
think
young
it,
children.
yeah, I think it was just like, kind of like a little sidebar we were talking about.
Hmm.
Because I remember talking about this and like how, but I feel like this kind of goes along with that. It's like you're making it your child almost like be exposed up there on stage and all the implications of that, like the stage fright that could go along with that if they don't perform it the right way or the proper
Yeah.
way, all the anxiety that could go with that.
Anxiety,
You know,
embarrassment,
yeah,
feelings of not feeling so much self-worth. Oh my gosh. So like that's a lot of
so
pressure for
much
a
stuff.
kid. A lot of pressure.
It's too
I
much.
was in a couple of schools over the past year, and when I they would talk about their holiday shows, um, and I would say, have you thought about doing it a little differently? Have you thought about having just sort of holiday fair or holiday
Yeah.
party or, holiday, game where you play games out or something or, like
Oh,
a carnival fair kind of atmosphere rather than a show. They'll say to me things like, but we're known for our show. And I just want to say, I would
yeah,
like you to be known for the quality education and care you give to young children
I know. Well,
versus your
because
holiday
even
show.
even graduations now have become
Oh,
like
they've become
preschool
huge.
graduations have become a show. So instead of it just being like, hey, great, you graduated and let's have a little party about that. And even if you have a party at night with the parents, that's great. Instead, it's become like you got to sing these three songs. You know what I
Yeah, but
mean?
you know
You
what?
got
We've
to
all
walk in
done it.
front.
I've done it too.
I know I've done it too, but I
But
feel like
I have to, where I used to direct a school when I came in, the teachers were telling me about the elaborate graduations that they did, and I did cut it way back. And
yeah,
I did that by using video and pictures of the kids from throughout the year. So
yeah,
interspersed throughout the maybe 45 minutes of this whole thing, which included me talking, other people talking,
right,
were these videos and pictures put to song and stuff because I didn't want the children to have to perform for that entire
right,
45
right.
minutes.
That's a long time, and I
It's
feel
a
like
lot.
it's a lot of time and pressure for a teacher too. And
Yeah, they really don't like it, ladies and gentlemen. I
no,
I
or
have
there's
yet to meet
some,
the teacher who's like, "Yeehaw,
yeah,
let's get ready
or
for the holiday show."
you have a teacher like me, okay, who, for one of the previous schools I worked with, they had this whole show, and it was like a Beatles themed show, right? So all the kids had to do like a Beatles song. Even the babies had to get
Oh,
up
I've
there.
seen that. Yeah.
Okay. And it was fine. That's a cute idea. I love the Beatles. It was like awesome. So, but what I did was what, and then all the other teachers were like, oh, Allison, that's not really performing, because
What did you
I
do?
I did the yellow submarine, right? So I actually got the kids a really large cardboard box. I mean, one that like your refrigerator or washer or dryer come in, and they created a yellow submarine out of it. And it looked like they painted it. They actually figured out how to fold it so it would look like a submarine. They decorated it. So it became this little like almost like a STEM project that they could
Mm.
have that on the stage. And I took pictures of them making it. So I had this big poster when you went down to the stage, like the making of the Yellow Submarine. And then instead of them having to actually memorize the whole song, which is what a lot of the other teachers were doing, making them memorize these dance things and dance moves or whatever, I was like, why don't you guys just skip around the stage? Like, just skip around the stage, and then when they sing the chorus of the song, just march in place and sing the chorus of the song, and that's it. And then when it's and they're like, "Oh, Allison, that's
Oh,
just not
that is
organized."
just subpar performance there, Allison. How
Yeah,
old were the kids?
they were four.
Oh, yeah, see, subpar.
I know, but I thought it was awesome that I was like,
Yeah,
"Well,
it
look,
is pretty awesome.
they made their own
I
submarine.
think
They
it's
did the whole
awesome
thing."
that you
Yeah.
sort of derived educational content from what you were forced to do.
And then they were proud of it because they were like, I made that yellow submarine. I painted that part. I created that. And I had pictures to prove it because it was so unbelievably amazing that 4-year-olds made that. I mean, it was, but they did, and then they were proud. They're like, oh, look, I made that. I did this. And then they were having fun, but then there were other teachers who were like, oh, my kids memorized their whole song and
Oh,
I
that's
and
terrific.
I and I sewed their costumes and I did this and I'm like,
Oh my goodness.
It's now about you instead of them.
Yeah,
You know?
I think we have to remember what school time is supposed to be about.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be about learning and socialization. I don't think it's supposed to be about this. And especially in the preschool grades, my
Yes.
goodness, my goodness, they don't even have choice. As they get into elementary, middle, and high school, the children who like to perform can choose to do that. And then
Yes.
those who don't want to do it shouldn't have to do it. It should just be that group of kids who really enjoys it.
Right. But I
Um,
feel like that's not what's happening
that's not
either.
what yeah, and
Yeah.
it's certainly not what's happening in preschools. So here's what I would like to
Yeah.
help ask people to do as we conclude this episode. I would like to ask people to be honest. So teachers, those of you who are looking at me going, "Oh man, this rehearsal, it takes a lot of time. This show is too much. I can't stand doing this show." Could you please go to your administrators and say this is a problem for the kids? And administrators, can you please go to the families and say,
Yeah.
we want to do the holidays a little differently this year. We're going to have a party or something like that versus a show because we want to use the educational time correctly. And families, could you go to the school and say, I don't need my child to perform in this way? Because that would just be awesome. I really feel like everybody is thinking the same thing, but nobody's saying it.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's true. It's just
You
not being said.
It's not
They don't.
being said. So
They don't want to rock the boat.
I
Kind of
do
thing.
hope,
Yeah.
yes, I do hope that people listen to this episode and think, all right, I'm going to go and be honest with somebody and plan something really cool for the holidays instead.
Yeah.
All right, catch you next time on the podcast.